Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another podcast episode. My name is Alicia Gogan, the host of the Glow Up Secrets podcast, where I help you expand your mind and become more self-aware so that you can glow up into the best version of yourself. Y'all voted to keep the intro in, so here we are. We are not going to get rid of the intro, okay? Honestly, maybe I was just having a little phase in my life where I wanted to absolutely rebrand my entire life, but now we're back. And quite frankly, I just had one of those, going into the depth of my deep dark hole in my life and then just coming out being like, actually everything is fine and love does exist. That's how I'm feeling today. Anyways, thank you guys for all the support in last week's episode when it came to just asking your guys' advice on anything, especially when it comes to the intro, things like that. I did actually miss last week's episode because I was not feeling like recording, which leads me into today's episode topic, which is living life on easy mode. And I found a quote on Instagram. I don't know where it is, but it basically said, if being hard on yourself worked, then it would work by now. And can we just sit with that quote for a second? Genuinely, we're out here being so damn hard on ourselves. The mental diet sometimes is giving girl, relax, very tyrant behavior. When you don't do something perfectly correct, you're just ruminating, on it, thinking about it over and over and over again, trying to micromanage your damn life. We know that doesn't work, okay? Come on, us perfectionists, we know we can't be perfect. We know. And so many of us want to live on easy mode. A lot of us, I think, the rise of the soft life, feminine energy. I think a lot of girls are kind of I don't know, it was a phase last year and the year before. And it still probably is. A lot of us want to just relax and chill, and not even women, obviously men too, but we're all just sick and tired of feeling like everything is so hard. And, I guess this episode will be my take and my belief system and how I view life and how I move through life. So you can take it with a grain of salt. You can take it for what it is. But I do think we genuinely make so many things way harder than it needs to be. And I know that because I am a recovering perfectionist. I am somebody who has really genuinely, realistically, in the 3D reality, in the 3D world, has lived a hard life, okay? My mom lived a hard life. My dad lived a hard life. The people around me, a lot of us, we lived a hard life. And I had to work and I had to grind and I had to mentally get myself to a point where I could get myself out of that. And now I live a life which is way easier than it even was 2 years ago. But that doesn't mean that I completely just let go of the mindset of everything has to be a hustle and everything has to be hard and I have to worry about everything because that's how I'm going to get what I want, which we know doesn't. But it's taken me a while to slow down and really learn how to not be so obsessive and a perfectionist and really just decide to, look at life as, everything is supporting me and life can be easy. And I want to talk about essentially two mindset shifts really that have helped me. This is really actually a belief system that I have naturally cultivated over the years of, working through mental health issues, working through health issues, just trying to discover myself, going through that self-help space, improving myself, seeing what works, seeing what doesn't. And it's interesting because these two things that we're going to be talking about, I'm going to be putting a name to them, which is out of the Hermetic principles, the 7 Hermetic principles, which are basically some people will say the laws of the universe. There is argument on how many laws of the universe there is, and you don't have to believe any of this. Honestly, you don't. I believe it, although I started living life through this lens before I even had a name to it, the laws of anything. But I figured I would just bring that up because I'm going to be using that, and I'm going to read something out for you guys. But essentially, this is just ancient wisdom. Back in the day, people kind of viewed the way that the universe works. And I honestly do believe this, and I think a lot of you guys will too. So there's 2 laws of the universe that I kind of look at the world as that really helps ground me and bring me back to what I know is deeply true, which is life does not have to be so hard. I do not have to be so much of a stress ball. I do not have to try and be the most perfect version of myself every single day. We know it doesn't work. So let's first talk about the law of rhythm. And I'm going to read off of this article that I have so you guys can understand it. And you guys are going to resonate with this. Okay, so let's talk about it. What is the law of rhythm? The law of rhythm is also known by many names like the law of cycles or the law of the pendulum. The law of rhythm states that this pendulum swing manifests in everything from the natural life cycle to our own personal experiences. It's like a pendulum swing back and forth, always moving. The shifting of the ocean tides, how your mood swings from good to bad, or how life circumstances always change are all examples of this rhythm. Change is the law of life. Nothing lasts forever. And hold on. It's fine, because I don't want you guys to be stressing me like, oh my God, everything that's good in my life is just not going to last forever. It's not like that. I'm going to give you some mindset shifts about how I kind of view this. But genuinely, like, we have to, like, I don't know. I think this really was something that, I don't know, like, got switched on for me through my life of just like growing up and realizing that trying to do the same thing every single day, fighting against resistance all the time, whether it had anything to do with work or, you know, how I was feeling, like perfectionist mindset, like it's like you have to understand that not every single day is going to be the same. You have different moods. When you're a woman and you're not on hormonal birth control, even if you are, probably you go through this, but you know, there is cycles of life that you go through. Your hormones, literally your hormones. I don't know why I said it like hormone, whatever. Your hormones are always fluctuating. The seasons of life, like we're going into spring, which requires us to move in different ways or think in different ways. The sun is out more. The days are longer. Like for us to always expect to wake up and do the same thing every single day, all the time, is the reason. A lot of the times, there's many reasons, but is one of the main reasons, and especially for my own life, that we feel like everything is so hard. Why do we feel like everything is so hard? Because we have consistent resistance to what is. And this is like, it's normal to have resistance to things you don't want to feel in life. Like, let's say negative emotion or shitty things that are happening in your life. But what makes life even harder or feel harder is when we push past the natural flow of what is, which is, yeah, maybe you're going through a breakup right now, or yeah, like maybe the sun is not out and you don't feel the best. What we do is we say it's wrong that we feel bad because the sun is not out. And we're not accepting like, oh, okay, just have like a crappy day and like, you know, don't be motivated and don't work because the sun is not out. But it's just to accept that, yeah, you know what? The sun is not out and the sun really affects me. So today, maybe I'm not going to have like the most motivation and the most like happiest thoughts, but that is okay. And you know why that's okay? Because one, why am I going to resist something that is naturally happening? But also, it is going to change. It is going to change. Understanding the law of rhythm, understanding that everything is essentially cyclical has changed the game for me when it comes to living life on easy mode, because when I move through life understanding this principle of life, of, you know, I'll give you the example of just being on my period, like my cycle. And if you guys don't know, we do have 4 phases of our cycles. It's not just when you bleed. If you want to understand more to do with cycle syncing, if you don't know, then I'll link some videos from my main channel explaining cycle syncing. But, you know, the time that you menstruate, the time that you bleed, you will start slowly, your hormones, and everyone is different, but your hormones, start to kind of like come back up to balance again, which means you are actually going to feel like you have more energy. You might like, you know, be more creative and you want to like get out in the world and you want to socialize when you're ovulating. Like that's a time where usually you have the most energy and you can do the most amount of work, and that again completely depends. It's very general. And, you know, as you fall back down, right now I'm in my luteal phase. Your luteal phase is a span sometimes of 2 weeks. And I feel that the most. I right now don't have that much energy. I'm kind of like trying to do the best to do as much content as I need to do, because I know that I'm going in a period of winter essentially for me, which is I'm going to bleed and I'm not going to have a lot of energy. Like my hormones are at its lowest, and I'm going to understand that fact of life, and I am not going to resist that. And when you do not resist it, life feels easy. Life feels easy because I am not spending so much energy just being like, no, this can't be happening, and no, I shouldn't be feeling like this, and this, that, and the third. And now a lot of us perfectionists, we don't like that because we are so driven to just like hit all the goals and like, you need to be perfect. But understand this, that's just not how it works. Does it really actually work out like that for you? And bringing it back to what I said about that quote, like if being hard on yourself actually worked, it would work. So through a lot of experience in my life, I have seen that, berating myself and trying to micromanage things that just clearly are not working in the moment actually creates way more stress than need be. I am making life way more harder than need be. And now I think like understanding the law of rhythm and understanding like life is cyclical and understanding my hormones, like my cycle, everything like that has really helped me not like have this internal battle in my head, because it's like it's like a fact of life. Like it logically doesn't make sense that I'm going to get mad at myself for not having 100% energy to go do a leg day when I'm on my period. Like that makes like actually no sense. So I know sometimes it might take you a second to really understand that, but I think that when you educate yourself on what is truly like what life actually is, I think that sometimes it can help you lessen that inner critic. And I want to read something else from this article where it says, knowing your personal and spiritual rhythm, because I think this really helps because everyone is unique. To know your own rhythm, you need to pay attention and be aware of the different cycles that you go through in your own life experiences. This involves finding patterns in your thoughts, your feelings, your actions. Observe when you feel joyful and sad, productive and sluggish, when you want to be alone and when you want to be with others. And I think that the ones that are perfectionists, which you can put me in that same category, we have learned over years a way of moving through life that is very linear through a very masculine dominant society, or in general, we just are influenced and we follow people who are not us. And it's so okay to get advice, to get knowledge, to get wisdom, to follow and have people guide you on this journey, whether it's anything to do with fitness and health or mindset, whatever, but you have to come back to what is true for you. You are unique, which means, if you are finding that you're trying to follow a fitness regimen that your favorite influencer who you just love their body and you really want to look like them, it's not bad that you want to look like them, but at the end of the day, it's like if you're struggling with doing what they're doing, maybe the way that they're doing it is meant for them, but maybe not fully meant for you. What works for you? What I mean, what works for you is, what is the least resistant thing for you? So for me, going to the gym at 5 a.m. just does not work for my schedule. I don't get enough sleep and time, and then I'm tired, and then I'm miserable, and then I dread going to the gym, and then I'm not consistent. I'm not in the identity of somebody who just moves their body. So I don't do it. I go to the gym, at a time that works for me. And now obviously, depending on your job, depending on your environment, you have to kind of move the puzzle pieces. And I did that too. I didn't always have the job that I have now. But still, I really stopped going against what was true for me. And I understood that the more that I released resistance in life, I was going to see the fruits of my labor. And I think this is the reason why sometimes people struggle with being able to go with the flow of life, essentially, is because you don't have any evidence yet that when you actually go in the direction of what feels good to you and what works for your schedule, that you would have any actual good results, because we've been taught in our lives that actually don't go in the direction of what feels good to you. Just grind and hustle and hate your life, and that's how you're going to get results in life. Like, that's literally what we've been taught, but that's actually not the truth of who we are. And unfortunately, we live in a generation where that's just kind of like how it is, but does not need to be like that, I promise you. But how you find that evidence and see that is like, let's say, for example, you try cycle syncing and you see how good you feel through the times that you're ovulating, and you genuinely see how much like work you get done when you have the most energy, and how you feel and how rested you end up actually being when you slow down when you're menstruating. And this doesn't mean that you don't work. This doesn't mean that you just like whatever, like the soft life, like, I don't know, the soft life trend of being like, oh, you just don't work. No, it's not about not working ever. It's just knowing who you uniquely are and your cycle and your life and who you need to be and how you need to move through life. And you be loving with yourself, and you understand that like you're this human being. You're like this little like young child that needs like, you know, maybe you need extra help, or maybe you need more affirmations, or maybe you need like extra sleep. Like, let's stop berating and hating on ourselves for that. So this article goes on to say the process of knowing your own rhythm requires you to be in tune with personal tempo when things rise and fall, which means like stop looking outside of you for people to tell you how you should feel and how you should move through life. Again, like, you can get guidance for sure. You guys listen to me, you listen to other people, I listen to people sometimes, but at the end of the day, it's like you got to know your own patterns. You got to know when you feel the best. Like, I also think about this when it comes to drinking. I'm not really a drinker. I never really have been. I drank way more when I was in college, just because it's just like party town and whatever. It was really fun. But for me, if I'm going through something where I know the next day I'm going to be feeling down and depressed, or, you know, whether like, let's say I'm going through a breakup, or I miss somebody, or things are just chaotic, or I have things to do the next day, like genuinely, like depending on what me and my life is requiring of me, that's going to dictate whether I have extra drinks or not at the dinner table with my friends. So, but we might go out and be like, okay, well, it's Friday night, and what you do is like you go to the dinner table with your friends, you go to a dinner party, whatever, and you have drinks because everyone's having drinks. But just because everyone else is having drinks doesn't mean that right now it makes sense for you to have so many drinks. But what we do is we push past that because it's like, oh, well, everyone else is doing it. Or like, you know, this is like what I maybe even want to do in the moment, which is fine. But it's also like you have to consider, how are you going to feel? What do you need in this moment? This doesn't mean that you can never drink. But for me, I know there's certain things that I will and will not do. I know when I am menstruating, I do my absolute best not to pile my weekend up with a bunch of social events because I'm not going to be in the mood. Is this always a thing? Can I always do that? Absolutely not. Even as I work for myself, there's still events that I need to do. There's still content that I need to create. There's still things that I got to do. When I worked 3 jobs, I still had to work through my period. But even when I was working 3 jobs, I made sure to do the absolute best that I could to give myself grace and send myself love and compassion, and not push myself and not add an extra leg day when I like worked an 8-hour shift and I'm on my period. Like, there are ways in which that you can support yourself, but you have to really listen to who you are. This article also says, once you accept this and work on identifying your natural pace, you will be better prepared to handle life's ups and downs. My gosh, sorry. Which is very true. So again, like when I am feeling my body naturally move into my luteal phase, at first I might think like, oh my God, I'm not feeling like motivated to do content. Let's say like I have a day where I'm like supposed to be doing content, and then like I'm waking up and I'm like not in the best mood, and I see that I'm like in my luteal phase. I'm like, oh, okay, like no problem. Like I'm not like mad at myself for doing that. And sometimes there's no reason, and that's also okay as well. Like we don't need to have a reason for everything, but it's just to give yourself more grace. Now let's go into the next part of this article, which leads me into the next law that I want to talk about. So this says learning to go with the flow, which I know I know this is like the worst thing that we could hear as women sometimes, when men will be like, oh, I just want to go with the flow. And listen, I am not a girl who likes to go with the flow, but I will say throughout my life, I have learned that actually, you know what? there's something about men that we just don't want to listen to. And some of them, not the ones that just want to waste your time, but some of them be knowing that going with the flow is actually the best way. And I don't know if I'm just like picking up more of that energy in a healthy way or not, but like genuinely, listen, I don't know if I'll ever identify as somebody who goes with the flow, but God, does it feel good to go with the flow sometimes, which is very hard to do. But when you do it, you actually create so much magnetism. Things just align. Things genuinely will align if you allow it. If you just go in the direction what makes you feel good, like you wake up and you decide, I actually don't want to do this thing. Or, you know what? Today I told myself I was going to do X, Y, and Z, but I want to do it in like reverse because I feel more energy to like start this project versus like, I don't know, for me, like record a podcast first. And I know life can't always be like whatever you want, but I'm telling you, there's many pockets of your life where you can do things that you actually want. You're just making it harder than need be. Okay, so let's continue. Instead of feeling fear when things are not going well, prepare yourself for when things rise. By thinking this way, you stay grounded in reality, but at the same time, you remain hopeful when things are tough. Preparing for the challenges to come helps you become stronger, more resilient, and more adaptable in the face of challenges. And we're not trying to set ourselves up for like, oh my God, I'm going to have the worst days ever, but just understanding that that might just be a normal part of life. And when I've really like stopped being so afraid of bad days or negative emotions or days that I'm not going to be so productive, it's like way less. Like the lows of natural like rhythm of life don't feel so low because I am not looking at it like that, which brings me into the next law, which is essentially the law of assumption, but in the Hermetic principles, it's called the law of mentalism. So let me quickly explain what that is and how I use that as well on the times, which we kind of already been talking about, but on the times where things might actually do feel like they might be hard or things are kind of in a low right now. Principle of mentalism states that the universe is akin to a mental projection. This is like Manifestation 101, which is all about using your thoughts to shape your reality. For anything to be, a thought must proceed. Through this principle, it's believed that God is consciousness or thought, and the universe is a manifestation of the mind of God. Using this law, we too can harness the power of our minds to create the life that we want. Now, let me just like disclaim, this is a belief system. Some people don't believe this. I think that a lot of you guys who listen to the podcast, you probably do resonate with this because you guys are very much so like for the most part, like you guys focus a lot on mindset, and you guys know like the more you change your mindset, the more you love yourself, the more you like look at things differently, like usually you tend to see different results in your life. And then it goes on to say to how to apply it. This is a good example, I think. Consider the initial thought that led you to be able to read this on whatever device that you're on, or even the thought that is most influencing your mood right now, which like, let's stop and think like, there's always a thought that you have before you do something, okay? When we recognize how much our thoughts manifest every day, whether internally as a physiological or emotional state, or externally as the things we do or places we go, we see that when we can control our mind, we control our lives. We can get better at this through spiritual practices such as meditation, which helps us train the mind. And this is something that I've learned on my journey from a very young age of like probably 16. I would say like I usually kind of bring it back to 16 years old. You know, I started using the power of my mind to think different thoughts, which led me to a different reality in my life. I told myself when I was young, I'm going to get the dream life. I'm going to do whatever it takes. I'm going to think positively. I'm going to think in my favor. When shit hits the fan, when things happen, I'm going to decide to look at it from a place of a lesson, of it's working for me, of I don't even need to know the answer, but it is what it is. Like the universe has my back, that God has my back, whatever it is. And I think that this is important for the times when, like I just said, things aren't necessarily going your way, circumstances are all messy in your life, or in general, just as you're going through the natural dip of life. Like when I am, let's say, bring it back to menstruating or not feeling the best, like, yes, like I obviously know that I'm like on my period or like whatever, but I still need to have a mindset to keep me in check. When I'm on my last week before I bleed, my luteal phase, like the last week, like my mindset is like, I just want to rebrand my entire life. Like nothing works. I hate everything. Like I don't feel good. Like my skin's not looking good, like this, that. And so when I'm recognizing that I have those thoughts, I'm reminding myself in the moment, I'm using the power of my mind and AKA the law of assumption. I am assuming, first of all, no problem. This is a normal phase of life, but also redirecting my thoughts. Actually, listen, and this is not about being delusional. It's not about like telling yourself that you love yourself if you don't in the moment, but it's like, okay, it's fine. I don't even need to love myself right at this moment. Or maybe it's, Alicia, you're like on your period right now. Like you're gonna have a different mindset in like a week's time. Give it a second. Things are going to change. Things are gonna work out in your favor. When you understand that life is just a rhythm, okay? And also you can use your mind to really affect the way you feel in your day-to-day life. You are going to start feeling like life is on easy mode. Now, this is an art, okay? This is an absolute art. And the reason why I'm saying it's an art is because it's taken me many years to even really like adopt this mindset and like see in real life, like, oh, actually, like everything does rise and fall. And it's not in a bad way. It's not a bad way at all. It's just like, that's just what it is. And using the law of mentalism to remind yourself, or law of assumption to remind yourself, okay, so if it falls, it's going to come back, and falling doesn't need to be this like bad thing. And this is like where, I'm not going to get into it, but this is like what alchemists do, is essentially like when they understand that there is a natural dip in life, you using the power of your mind and everything else, you do your best to understand that you don't even need to go into these negative low like vibrations if you don't need to. You can keep yourself kind of neutralized and just understand like, I can stand in, I can work with the flow of life, bringing it back to like the fact that when I'm menstruating, okay, how can I adapt? How can I use what I have right now to really support myself? How can I use the power of my mind? But also, okay, what does my body need? How do I move? How do I win the game at adapting? Perfectionists are so good at trying, and I mean trying because you don't actually win, trying to win the game of being linear. And the gag is you can never win the damn game, okay? So if you want to win the fucking game because you just have this perfectionist part of you that just like needs to win and like needs to hit goals and like needs to whatever, I want you to try your best, because we don't need to be perfect, but if you want to, try your best to win the game at adapting. And that is what I have been doing for many years. I have gotten so good at knowing what feels good and what doesn't. I have gotten so good at tracking my period. I have gotten so good at understanding, you know, like the mindset that I need to have on the days where things don't feel good. I have gotten so good at understanding that, you know what, in the mornings, I need to have a journal practice, because if I do not, and I don't have to be perfect with this, but if I do not, yeah, you know, my mindset's not going to be the absolute best. And there's times where I don't need the journal practice because I'm feeling 100%, my self-concept is on point, whatever. And then there's some times that I do. Or, you know, there's sometimes in my body, I feel like there's resistance and I don't want to go out, but I'm telling myself, like, oh, this is a perfect night to go out. No, I'm not doing it. I am releasing resistance, and I'm reminding myself that going in the direction of what feels good to me is going to create the best results for me in my reality, but also just in my body, which is going to make me feel really good. And this takes practice. It takes honoring yourself. It takes not abandoning yourself genuinely. Now, at the end of the day, you still live in a universe where the law of rhythm is happening, and whether you like it or not, or whether you want to like, you know, acknowledge it or not. So I would, if I were you, and this is just my advice and you can do whatever you want, but I would no longer look at the law of rhythm, aka the downs in life, the changes, the ebbs and flows, as bad, as a weakness. Because this is sometimes what we do. We make meaning out of everything. We are mean-making machines, okay? We love to think and we love to just like get all in there. I love that about us. But Sometimes what we do is we decide to go to the negative. So we look at the fact that, like, this is what I used to do, especially, again, we're going to use the example of my period. I'd be like, oh, it's such a weakness. Like, oh, I wish I wasn't a girl for this. And like, I wish I wasn't a woman because like all the guys, like, they get to just be productive and they get to whatever. And now I have this period and it's just like a weakness. Da, 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 da. Why are you looking at it as a weakness? Why are you looking at your bad days as wrong, like it shouldn't be happening? When you change your mindset about the things that are happening in your life, you find wisdom in it. And a lot of people ask me, how do you come up with topics for your podcast? Or how do you whatever, all of this kind of stuff? A lot of it is because I have changed the way that I viewed some of the lowest times in my life, and I have pulled wisdom from these things that I'm able to speak on. And that's also how I've leveled up in my life. I didn't level up in my life by looking at every shitty circumstance and being like, wow, this is so bad. This is my reality. Life sucks, and continue to perpetuate down that line. Listen, this doesn't mean that I had perfect days and I was like, oh, okay, I have negative emotion today. Great, beautiful, lesson learned. No, there's times I got triggered AF. There's times that I needed a week to freaking like come up from my nervous system being shot. But one thing about me is I always come back on top, and not only on top, but tenfold, and I come out with wisdom, and I come out with something that changes my actual reality. It's almost like I alchemize that energy that was whatever it was. That's how I look at life. And I think that's how a lot of people are trying to look at life, and they do their best. But I think that sometimes in the process of doing that, we just focus so much on the low. Like we focus so much on the circumstance of being like, okay, I'm trying to look at this positive, but the thing is this is happening right here in my reality. I'm not trying to tell you to ignore the fact that you're going through a breakup. I'm not trying to tell you to ignore the fact that you're feeling negative emotion. And I think that in the spiritual realm, in a spiritual community, sometimes what happens is like you get taught to spiritually bypass, meaning pretend that you don't feel what you feel. No, we're not going to do that. And also you don't need to do that, because how you feel is actually very important to show you where you need to go. Okay. So understand that. And that's how I look at any time that I have a bad day, a crappy day, this, that. And I'm not saying I do this every single time, but like when I'm not feeling good or things are not going on in my life, I'm like, okay, this is actually very valuable information. And I don't know what this information is going to mean yet, but all I know is it's valuable, versus looking at it as it shouldn't be happening. This is just such a nuisance. This is just something that I shouldn't be happening. Like whatever. If you look at it like that, then you're going to resist everything. You're going to feel like shit. And then when you do feel better, you haven't really alchemized any of that energy, and it's going to continue to perpetuate. And this is not to mean that you're never going to have, again, the ebbs and flows of life, because that's normal. But the way that you experience it's going to feel hard. And so if you're wondering like why life feels so hard, a lot of the times it's because it's the way that you're moving. It's the way that you're viewing things. And am I going to sit here and say it's always our fault? No. Was it my fault that I was born in a family where we didn't have a lot of money? Was it my fault that I went through traumatizing things? Was it my fault that my mom was an addict? Was it my fault that my dad, didn't know how to freaking show up for me and love me, this, that? No, it wasn't. But what I'm doing in my reality now is I'm no longer playing that story out. Why? I came out of the womb, okay, very deserving of love and affection and abundance and light and happiness. Unfortunately, for many of us, things happen in our life. And we can either look at that and be like, oh my God, my circumstance is like, this is just how my life is supposed to be. Or you can remind yourself of the thing that is very, very true, whether you want to believe it or not. But I'm just going to say this. I'm just going to like genuinely say this. You did not come here to suffer and live out that story forever. You just didn't. Okay. I personally do not believe, whether you believe in the universe, you believe in God, whatever, that God specifically wanted you to come out of the womb and get traumatized and have a shitty fucking life for the rest of your life. I don't believe that. You can believe it if you want, but I just want to know how that it's helping you. And trust me, I've been there. when I really started to become aware of like, oh, okay, well, I have this type of life and these type of parents and this type of financial situation and like these type of health issues, I could have looked at it, been like, oh, this is what it is. But then I realized, this doesn't really make any sense though, logically. As much as it is real, all of it is real, it doesn't really make much sense logically for me to go through life thinking that life is against me, that I am this victim and this is how I'm supposed to live my life. No, I'm not doing it. And that is how I got out of the situation. How? Bringing it back to the law of mentalism, I had to think differently first before I saw it reflected back in my life. When you think differently, you show up differently, and you feel differently, okay, whether you want to believe in manifestation or any of that, we'll bring it to the very logical standpoint of you move through the world differently. When you think better thoughts, you get up and you decide to take care of yourself. You decide to not go in the direction of having shitty like conversations with people. You stop gossiping so much. You stop complaining so much. You go and you find opportunities for yourself. That's what I did. When I realized I don't want this reality, I said, you know what feels better is to listen to a podcast that teaches me about something that I haven't been taught about yet. Or let me go in the direction of, going on Pinterest or Tumblr at the time. I was a Tumblr girl, and envisioning and imagining a life that I don't have yet. That feels better to me. That feels better than me than to sit here and be like, oh my God, my life is just so terrible, and look at everyone else and what they have. And again, I'm not trying to call anyone out because like that was literally me, but it just doesn't do us any good. And that's the reason, not reason, but like that's what sometimes feels so hard. So you have, in my personal opinion, a lot more control over whether you feel like life is on easy mode or hard mode. And it's an art. And I think that the first action step that you can take in your life is to decide to do one thing every single day that feels good to you. And this can be big or small. And this is so unique to you. I can give you like a few examples. Like the other day, it was a day that I was like, okay, I'm going to record a podcast episode, and the next day it was like raining, and this was for sure, it was my 10th day out of my period, which if you guys cycle sync, then you'll know about the 10th day. It's so real. And I started feeling like my mood was just not there to be able to talk, like genuinely, like I couldn't if you even tried. I mean, I probably could, but I just probably wouldn't have liked the episode. And so I woke up in the morning and I had a decision right then and there. I had a decision to make life hard. And when I mean make life hard, I mean to feel resistance all day by saying, do the thing that you need to do and you have to do it today. I genuinely actually had other days that I could have recorded. Or waking up and making things hard by deciding not to record, but in my mind berating myself because I didn't record and I should have recorded on this day, and oh my God, you're not being perfect and you're not da-da-da. So I decided in that moment, when I realized what feels better to me is to not record today. And I know this is like, again, you can't always be perfect with this, but in this certain circumstance, I know that I can't record today. So I'm going to decide to go in the direction of what feels good to me, which is not that right now. And I am going to decide not to berate myself. And that is that. The story is done. Okay. So what did I do instead? I ended up spending the entire day watching YouTube videos on quantum physics because that's what I wanted to do. Like literally, that's just what I wanted to do. And I stopped feeling like crap about it. And even today, actually, yesterday, I had a plan on like what I was going to do and how I was going to do the content that I needed to do. I have to record a podcast. I have to do brand work today and whatever. So I was thinking, like, actually last night I let my hair out for the first time in forever. And I was like, holy crap, your hair has grown so long. It's so beautiful. This, that, like you really need to do your hair again. And I was like, oh, maybe I should do my hair tomorrow. But I was like, whatever, I'll just decide that in the morning. There's not a point in me deciding to like decide how I'm going to feel now when I can just decide tomorrow in the morning. Okay. So I woke up and I just had this, after I journaled, I had this like deep desire to do my hair. And I was like, you know what? Like move your nail appointment to one hour later. You can do like, cause I had a certain like schedule and whatever, but I had some flexibility. And this is bringing it back to the fact that I have a lot of time freedom now more than I did ever. And I will still do these behaviors of being a perfectionist when I don't need to be. So like, just want to like give you that like 2 cents. But I was like, you know what? I just want to do my hair. So I ended up starting to do my hair. And I decided I am not going to be obsessive over time and be like, oh my God, I could have started my podcast now, but I decided to do my hair. Maybe I shouldn't have done it. This, that, back and forth. Nope. I'm deciding that this is what's going to be. And why? Because I know that everything's going to work out. Everything's going to work out in my favor. It doesn't even matter. As I'm doing my hair, I realized that I didn't strip my hair enough. Like I didn't shampoo it. Well, I didn't shampoo it at all. And I was using a mousse that wasn't like correct. So as I was doing my hair, I started to realize that my hair wasn't turning out the way that I wanted to. And in that moment, I could have then spiraled even more because I'm like, oh my God, see, I shouldn't have done it and this, that. And now I'm like halfway through my hair and I don't want to do it and what I want to do. And I decided in that moment, I'm like, absolutely not. We're not doing this. We are not making life harder than it needs to be. And I know this sounds like, oh my God, like, you know, like this is kind of like stupid in a way, but it's not. Like this is like the things that I do in my life and how I've always moved through life, just making everything such a big deal. So halfway through my hair, I said, you know what? No problem. Just gonna put it up into a nice little bun. If you're watching on YouTube, you see just a little claw clip. No problem. I'm gonna order the product that I need. We're gonna do your hair in the next podcast episode. Not an issue. You can still do your podcast. You're gonna get everything done. And on with it I went. And I didn't spiral. I didn't feel like shit about everything. I didn't feel resistance. And now I'm here recording my podcast. And I know you can't tell, but I feel really good. And I feel like life is on easy mode. But I could have made life not on easy mode just by the internal thought process that I was going through, making it a whole entire thing. Okay. So using the power of your mind to go in the direction what feels good. And when you decide to go in the direction that you want, where you're practicing, I'm going to decide to walk on this side of the sidewalk than that. And I'm not going to feel bad about it. You obviously use the mindset of not feeling bad about it. You will find life feels so good. And when you feel good, and this is kind of only if you believe in manifestation, but I mean, I think a lot of you guys kind of do, you will attract different experiences based off of how you feel, okay? Whether it's you actually taking action or energetically, the law of vibration, which is also another hermetic principle, you will attract, okay? So I just want you to decide, I guess is what I'm saying. I kind of went on a big rant, but decide. And I guess another example is like even as simple as the other day, I was literally walking down the road and there was like one side of the road that just felt like genuinely gross and dirty and like there was pigeons everywhere, and then there was another side of the road that was like the pavement was new and it was on a side of the street where they were like building a new condo, so everything like felt new and like whatever. And I decided in that moment it actually does matter which side of the road that I walk on because I care about how I feel. So I decided to, even though I didn't need to because it's already on the side where like the pigeons were, I said, you know what? No, I'm going to cross the road. And just simply by crossing the road and deciding to go in the direction that like makes me feel good, life felt like it was on easy mode. And this is not to say that, oh, if I walked on the other side with the pigeons, like life is hard. Like it's not, but it's just how you feel. And doing small things like that in your life, I promise you, you will start to feel so much better about yourself. Even when it comes to a song, if you put on a song at the gym and you're like, I do not feel this song, like this is not motivating me, change it. If you're listening to a podcast episode and it's like, oh, it's just like not making me feel good and it's making me spiral, change it. If you go on freaking social media or TikTok and you're not feeling good, stop going on it. Okay? Go in the direction that makes you feel good. I don't care if you feel delusional. I don't care if no one else is doing it. I don't care. So anyways, I think that's it for the most part. Oh, actually, maybe I'll give you one more quick example. The other day, I went to dinner with my friends and I don't have the biggest appetite. I do, but it depends. But when I go out, I like to have my drink first and I like to let it like sit for a second and then I like to eat. I like to actually feel my hunger signals like turn on and eat. Okay. But a lot of people who go for dinner, usually they eat and drink at the same time, or they're drinking their drink and then the food comes and then they dive in. And some of my friends were like, they were like, before the food even came, they were like appetizers, and they were like, oh, here, have, like, Alicia, try some pizza, which, by the way, like, just a disclaimer, I love my friends and they weren't trying to like push me to do anything stupid. Like, it wasn't like that. Like, I love them. And like, it's like, no, I'm not offended by any of this, but they were like, oh, try the pizza. And I was like, oh yeah, I will, like, when I'm like ready. I didn't say it like that, but like in my head, I'm like, yeah, I'll do it when I'm ready. And then they said it again, and they said it again. And then one of my friends put the piece of pizza on my plate, like as if like, just like eat it. And I'm like, yeah, I'm just gonna like have my drink first. And then the food came, and you know, everyone's diving in, and I'm grabbing some food and I'm eating it as I want to eat it. I'm eating a little bit of salad. I'm still drinking my drink. I'm relaxing. I'm this, that. And now I have this huge plate of food, and like everyone's eating, and people are commenting, being like, oh, like, Alicia, like, how do you still have this food? Like, everyone was commenting on it, like making it not a big thing, but they were just like very much so like hyper focused on my plate. And I'm sitting here like, y'all just need to relax, okay? I am so good here, drinking my drink, eating my food when I want to eat it. And listen, I didn't need to over-explain, but I also did not need to feel bad about how it is that I wanted to eat my food. And this is just bringing it back to like not feeling bad about going in the direction that feels good to you. Listen, some people are not going to like it. Some people are going to comment on it. Some people are going to be like, why are you doing it like that? Doesn't matter. And in that moment, I just like kind of told myself in my head, again, I wasn't like actually really triggered, but I told myself in my head, like, you know what? It's fine. Like, people don't get it. I know what's true for me, and what's true for me in this moment. Again, silly example. I want to drink my drink first, and I want to feel hungry before I eat. Okay. And that's that. And I ate what I ate, and people thought what they wanted to think, and I don't care, because you know what? I did what I wanted to do, exactly how I wanted to do it. And that's just what you need to do in life, I think, more of. And now you have to obviously, you know, consider other people, and you need to respond in a way that's like not, you don't need to be triggered about things. And that's how I've learned in my life, because, you know, the more you choose yourself, the more people are going to be like, why are you doing it like that? Or, oh, you should do it like this. Respectfully, love you, just not doing it. Okay. Anyways, I think that that's going to be it for today's episode. I hope you guys enjoyed. I'm going to actually say, I think there's one or two things that I had on here. One, so we're going back to just doing one episode a week. And I know some of you might be like, oh my God, no, like, we want more. The reason why I'm doing that is because I have decided, at least for right now, that, like I said last week's episode, the monthly like I'm doing the off-topic episodes are going to be monthly instead of doing it weekly. So the reason why, if you guys are new here, why I was doing 2 episodes a week was because the Mondays were considered off-topic episodes, and I was basically just updating you guys on life. I was, I don't know, like talking about things, commentary, like whatever I wanted to, and I was separating that from like the main topic episodes, because I didn't want them to be too lengthy, and then some people just want to hear what like the episode is and this, that. So I kind of separated that. But because I realized that sometimes there's just, and this is coming back to the law of rhythm, the law of damn life, there's just some weeks I just don't have things to say. So I have found that doing like a monthly recap kind of like works better for me right now. And so with that said, bringing it back, there's just some weeks that I cannot get out to episodes of like potent wisdom or like topics. I just can't. Like, there's just whatever. And then there's some weeks that I bang them out. But right now in my life, like especially now being in my luteal phase, like I'm going to be chilling, life on easy mode. Sometimes I think like so much, I go into like deep, dark spirals. Like the past like week, I've been in a quantum physics, like, deep dark hole, and I'm thinking a lot. So I don't have much to share right now because I'm still in this energy of just thinking and processing things. So with that said, sometimes there's nothing to share, or there's just like genuinely like I'm busy in life and there's just something not to share. So anyways, going to 1 episode a week just works better for me. That way I make sure that I am not over exerting myself and like pushing myself too much, and I have like the proper episodes. And what I'm going to do is, if for some reason I have something wild that I really want to share with you guys and it's not an off-topic episode, I'll throw it in on the Thursday. So we're going to be moving. I just figured like we've always done Thursday episodes to be like the episode because that's how I started my podcast. But I figured I'll just keep it on Mondays because I kind of like the idea of you guys having like a Monday episode to go into your week with. So that's what we're going to be doing moving forward. Don't forget to subscribe on my main channel YouTube though, if you guys want to see, like if you need an extra piece of content from me, because a lot of those videos are kind of like parallel to some of the things that I'm talking about on the podcast, and you can see like actually kind of more what I'm doing in my life. So that's that. Also, one quick thing, I want to address the ad situation on YouTube. So some people have been commenting being like, there's so many ads, blah, blah, blah. YouTube places my ads on my videos, but I didn't realize how many ads that they were placing because usually what happens is YouTube will just place as many ads depending on like the length of the video. But sometimes what YouTube does is they add a ton of ads. I didn't know this, but they add a ton of ads because not every single ad will play for every single person depending on like where you live and stuff. So what they do is they maximize it and they add like a bunch of them and like whatever. So anyways, depending on where you live and like whatever, sometimes you're getting literally all of those ads. And also I use YouTube Premium. So like I wasn't like, sometimes it's rare, but sometimes I'll rewatch my episodes for some reason. Like let's say I'm posting it on that day, I'll just like play it for a second just to like think about what I was talking about, and then I'll see the ad, but I no longer see the ads anymore because I have YouTube Premium. Anyways, I have gone in and I've taken many ads out, so there's should be like a normal amount of ads now in the YouTube videos. But if you don't like ads at all, y'all just need to get Premium. Like I'm telling you, Premium changed my life as somebody who actively watches YouTube videos all the time, and it's not expensive. Okay. So sorry to anyone who felt like there was a lot of ads. There was, for the most part, there was. Just know I didn't actually go in there though and like do that on purpose. I didn't. I was just trusting that YouTube was placing the ads based off of what they thought, because that's usually how they do it. But whatever. So I fixed that. And the last thing is next week, we have a very fun episode. We're going to be talking about glowing up. Okay. I want to talk about the perfect formula that I have created. I don't know really what I'm going to title it, but something maybe along the lines of that, of how to glow up this spring. Okay. This is not going to just be like, I'm telling you to like do your hair care and do your skin care, like this, that. Although I'm going to be showing you guys what I'm going to be doing internally and externally for my body and like physically on the YouTube channel. So definitely go watch that, but it's going to like correlate. Like we're going to talk about a lot of things to do with mindset and then like action and things like that. Like don't worry about it. But we're going to be talking about that next week. Okay. So I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.